students, today's agenda is to work on a warm-up. You're gonna see 3 examples and you're gonna be able to choose the correct unit, 1.4. And so today students will be able to choose different units that can be used according to the situation. And so let's look at this warm-up. It says write a scenario. So it says tortillas on the y-axis, and it has 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and then you have days in here, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like after 1 day is 6, after 2 days 12, after 3 days 18, 4 days 16. So I guess it can be something like my aunt, and I'm just making this up, okay? You can just create your own scenario as you wish. So maybe pause the video. Remember that when you're doing warm-ups, pause the video so you can come up with your own scenario and then kind of compare it. My aunt eats 6 tortillas per day. It's not per meal, it's not for lunch, it's not for, we don't know. It's just that every day it looks like there are 6 more tortillas, okay? And so by the end of the 4th day, we can see that she has eaten already 24 tortillas. For the next one, it says distance in miles on the y-axis, on the dependent, and hours on the independent. But look at what's happening. Well, what scenario could it be? It looks like at this point, in less time, she's going faster. But then there are these parts where she's going, it takes longer to travel less distance, right? So it looks like somebody's driving on the street where there is some traffic, or maybe even on a freeway. Because it's 5 hours, so it may be in a freeway, but then in some spots there is a lot of traffic and they're going a little slower. Okay, so I am driving in the freeway and there is traffic. Okay, so in 1 hour there's a lot of traffic, then it goes a little faster in the last couple of minutes, then again very slow, then fast to slow, and so on. So it's not specific, right? If you want to specify, that's fine. In the first 45 minutes is very slow and then it goes fast, and so it's up to you, but in general this is what's happening. Okay, so now we're going to be able to see or choose places, because before we were given scenarios and we would use units in previous lessons. Now we're giving the unit and we have to think of where in real life could we use this type of unit of measurement. So where could you use meters? Some examples are for, it could be the height of a house, height of a house. And I'm just giving you examples that my students have given me before, but you can definitely think of your own. Let me zoom a little bit. Okay, height of a house, bridges, human beings. Especially in other countries, they use the meters, right? Also, lots of blueprints. Lots blueprints. Like when they're trying to construct, they might be using meters. Okay, what about yards? Well, these are very similar, but this is the the metric system, and this is not. So, but the measurement is it's very similar in distance. Okay, so the yards, something else that they say is used in is fabrics, not fabrics. Okay, so that shouldn't be in there. Fabrics, also the height of a house, bridges, human beings, blueprints. So similar to this, but I'm just gonna add the height of buildings in general. Height of buildings. Also distances, okay? Kilometers. Kilometers are longer distances, and so we could say even kilometers and miles. I think I'm gonna put them together because they are very similar. Again, they range in the big or small unit. Okay, so these are the bigger units, and so it's distance from city to city. Distance from city to city. Also, if you're talking about distance from home to work, which sometimes is the same situation than here, distance from home to work, okay, maybe from state to state, etc. Okay, grams, that's more in weight, and so you will use it more in sugar, when you are weighing sugar, grains, flour, rice, beans, which are, okay. So again, these are examples that students came up with. Ounces, it's a smaller unit of weight, and sometimes it's even in liquid. So baby's weight, they have pounds and ounces, right? Small bottles also, it can be for formula or for other measurements. Somebody said bars. I don't know if they meant like bars of soap or like the snacks. Perfumes come or are measured in ounces. Okay. Kilograms. Human beings. When they're being weighed. Meat, tortillas is also weight. Fruit, and in reality, pounds go very close in hand with kilograms. Okay, I believe there are almost 2 or a little over 2 pounds in kilograms, but they're very close, so we would say that's similar to this. Okay, what about when we're talking about measurements with inches? What would be measured with inches? Some examples that students came up with were TVs, fish. You know how they say this fish grows to be, and then they say how many inches. Pencils, books. Okay, they would be measured in inches if they are talking. You wouldn't say, oh, a book measures kilograms. No. You wouldn't say kilometers. That's what I meant. Kilometers or meters. Okay. Centimeters would be very similar to that. So I'm just gonna put that they have very close measurement. An inch is about this big, and then a centimeter is about this big. So you can just say, oh, this book measures this many centimeters. This book measures this many inches. Okay, very close. It's not like inches compared to kilometers. It's more, these are closer together. Feet. Some examples will be tables. There are tables that are 4 feet long, or there are tables that are 6 feet long, etc. So tables, couches also. People are measuring feet, people's height. Okay, so those are some examples. Now let me go to a situation where you're being asked, what would be the appropriate unit for a block in a city? A block meaning from one light to another. Like, what would be the appropriate? And these are the same measurement actually for a block in here, right across from our school. One block measures 0.478 miles, which is kind of specific, 0.5 miles, which is just rounded, and 2,524 feet. So all these measurements are the same measurement, but which one would be more appropriate for our city block? Okay, and so we can say that it all depends on the situation. If we're talking to an architect or somebody who's working on making the city better, and they want to fix some parts of that street, then feet will be more appropriate, because they will be looking, and then this can even go into inches. Okay, if we have to be very specific, so that they can make each measurement appropriate depending on if they're putting pipe, if they're putting cement. They need to be very specific. Okay, so engineers measuring the distance will use the more specific, and that will be more appropriate. If we're rounding, that will probably be like if you're using the GPS. And I don't know if you have noticed, if you're telling your friend, oh, I'm like half a mile away, 0.5 would be more appropriate. Okay, you're just telling in general a unit that is very close and that person can help you, or the GPS also round miles to the 10th decimal. And then in here it's just for data. I would say when they're giving data, they're a little bit more specific, but not to the inch or to the even fraction of an inch. Okay, where engineers will be. So it all depends on where you're at. Okay, this is just for information. This is for GPS, you can just round, and then engineers have to be very specific. Okay, with this you can work on 1.4 and have fun.